Good morning, guys. It's Steph, physical therapist, run coach. I love helping beginner runners get into running and get back into running while avoiding injuries. So that is what I'm all about. That's why I created this group, so I can help you guys along the way. Today we're going to talk about winter running gear and tips, and just I'll tell you what I know and what's worked for me. A lot of us are out there right now in the winter months here in the Northern Hemisphere, and we're trying it out maybe for the first time, so it can be very tricky. I'll give you a little background of why, how long I've been doing it. So I grew up in southern Wisconsin, and definitely have winter there, lots of snow, lots of ice. I played basketball when I was younger, so I didn't do a lot of winter running really until I was out of high school. Later years in high school, I did do like a Jingle Bells fun run with my cross country team. That was probably my first like winter run. But even throughout college, when I would be home, I would be training for soccer and things like that. So I was, doing runs and stuff outside in the snow, in the cold, and had to figure out what worked as far as dressing. So I learned the hard way that if you don't dress correctly and you don't have everything like covered just right, and there is something of a wind chill, you're going to get red welts. And not everybody will get this, but I did throughout different areas. Typically it was like along my belly if I didn't have my shirt tucked in or didn't have enough layers there, and on the front of my thighs if there was a bad wind chill. And it went away after a certain amount of time, but it definitely can happen if you're not dressed right. So learned then and went to school in North Dakota. So moved to a more northern climate, which isn't that far from Wisconsin, but the winters are very, very different here. I think probably for like the first time, I really, really came to know and appreciate wind chill, and the below zero temperatures are crazy up here. I've definitely adapted and learned what type of layers I need for, even into those sub-zero temps. I do, I'm a little picky with when I run outside. If it's real slippery and icy and snowy, I just won't do it because it's just not worth it to me to risk it. It's just not as fun, but if you can find some areas of traction and you can get out there even while it's snowing, it can be incredibly amazing and peaceful, and it can just be fun. So I'm going to talk about gear first. I am not like a name brand. I don't buy a lot of new gear a lot. As you'll see here, I have kind of a hodgepodge of things. I don't really care a whole lot about like matching and things like that while I work out and while I run. So that's where I come from. I have some, more expensive gear. I have some gear from secondhand stores and used places. So a little bit of everything. So why don't we start at the bottom? Now, I know a lot of people have asked about like what type of boots or shoes to wear for winter running. And honestly, I've only ever worn my regular running shoes. I will, as it gets colder, do thicker socks. So I have a few pairs here. These are just some Fit socks that they're like maybe a little bit thicker like than what I have on now that I wore to the gym today. So I would wear these outside, and the other thing is they have a little higher ankle on them, so that if I have like my leggings on, then they'll meet up so my ankles aren't exposed. So I will wear these, and in the 20s and 30s I'll definitely wear these, and I don't have a problem with my feet. As it gets a little colder, into the 10s to 20s, I'll wear more of like a Smartwool sock. These are a Smartwool athletic sock. Again, they have the higher ankle, so that my ankles are protected, because again, I've gotten nice welts on my ankles before if they're exposed. As it gets below 10 degrees and like below zero, I'll even throw on like my bigger, thicker Smartwool socks. I love Smartwool. It's warm, but it doesn't have to be real thick even to be warm. So these are a little thicker on the bottom, but not like so much that's going to take so much room in my shoe and I'm going to get blisters and things like that. So again, taller so that more of my lower leg is covered. I have in the past even doubled up socks. I don't really like to do that because then again it starts taking up too much room in your shoe and you start having issues with that. But so find some decent socks that feel good, are comfortable, and you know, make sure you protect your ankles. Don't forget about that area. So jumping up to the legs. So again, that 20 to 30 kind of temperature, if there's not really a wind chill, I can do just a regular like material legging that doesn't have to be lined. Usually, you know, have them be long, obviously. As it gets a little colder, I just actually got these this year, well, in the last few months. They're just a fleece lined, like very light fleece lined legging that a friend told me about. They've got pockets, and I just bought them on Amazon. It gets colder than that, then I'll go to my my thicker fleece lined ones. So these ones are actually from Old Navy. They're Go Dry, the Go Dry that they have. And they're just, again, it's just a thicker fleece, so that's more comfortable for me for those colder temperatures, so more like 20s. If it gets colder than that, I have a base layer that I wear. So I have a top and a bottom, and these are from Eddie Bauer. They're their First Ascend line, and they're just, I mean, I bought these for just winter activities, you know, just playing out in the snow, shoveling, skiing, ice skating, that kind of thing. I didn't buy them for running, but I have found that they are really comfortable. They're really soft, and they are really long. So the nice thing about this is that both the arm and the leg are really long. So actually this, sometimes I will cup, like it'll go over my heel, and I will leave it down in there. So I've got this extra coverage at my ankles, which is really nice when there is that wind chill. So sometimes I will layer like these with my other pants, or I have another pair that's similar to this, but it's not like a tight, it's more like a boot cut pant, and I will layer these two together. So it's not real bulky, but it's definitely protecting me, and it's comfortable. So I'll do that for my bottom, my legs, and then same going up to the top. So I have the Ascend base layer top, and I would just recommend anybody getting like a thin, light layer for top and bottom that you can put other things on top of, and that just protects you and your skin. So I will layer again when it gets real colder, this with even another like thinner workout top that's long sleeve, and then one of my jackets. So if it's, you know, below, for sure below 10 degrees and below, I will layer probably 3 of these. So I'll have my base layer, which is a little thicker. I'll have just a thin, you know, spandex neoprene long sleeve, and then my thicker run pullover that's a thicker fleece with this outer layer that's wind resistant on it. So that's for when it's really cold. When it's, you know, a little bit warmer, that 10 to 30, I'll forego that one and just do these two. So I'll do the thinner, you know, layer and my little bit thicker fleece. So that's kind of typically where I go. It starts to get a little warmer. I got this on Poshmark. It's a Asics run jacket. That's really nice for wind resistance, and I believe it's water resistant as well. I haven't really run in the rain with it, but if it's a little bit warmer and, you know, I know it's real windy or it's going to be raining or wet, I'll put this on with, you know, like my lighter layer underneath, and I've been just fine. So the nice thing about, you know, these is that if you get real cold, you can zip it all the way up. Once I start to warm up, I'll just zip it down part way so I get a little bit more airflow, and then it's not quite so warm. Because one thing when you're winter running, you don't want to get cold. My sister taught me that back when we were like doing cross-country skiing and stuff. You don't want to get really, really sweaty and really cold, because once that, like, especially if there's a wind chill, you're going with the wind, you start to get real warm because you're maybe overdressed a little bit, you sweat a lot, then you have to turn around and go back into the wind. The wind basically freezes your sweat and you just start to get cold, and that's not good. So that's where these kind of materials are better than cotton, because cotton is going to hold your sweat next to your body and make you even colder. So these will wick the sweat away from you, at least, so that you don't have to deal with that. So this has been my go-to, probably long sleeve for underneath my other layers. It's Cozy Orange brand. I also have one that's similar from Old Navy again. They're activewear. It's just a long sleeve. I think, yeah, it has the thumb holes too. So sometimes for my wrists, I'll layer my gloves and then the thumb holes so that my wrists are really extra covered too, if it's real cold. And I get the long ones. I'm 5'7"-ish, between 5'7", 5'8" inches tall, and I like the long ones because they just cover my torso a little bit better. So those are my in between. A little bit step up from that one is this one that I have from Athleta, and it's just a little bit thicker of that same kind of neoprene spandexy material, nylon, I should say, nylon polyester spandex material. And so sometimes if it's, you know, between 30 and 40, I can just get away with this with like a tank top underneath, and that seems to go fine. So there's the tops. Moving up, actually let's move out. So I was talking about gloves and just hands. So I just have some, they're Mizuno running gloves. They're pretty thin. And I don't like to have big bulky things on my hands. So what I will do, and if you've seen other posts that I've done, if my hands get cold, like if I'm going into the wind first or something, my hands get cold, I'll pull my sleeves. That's why I love the longer sleeves and the thumb holes, because I'll just pull my sleeve around and hold it kind of lightly in my hand, and then my hands don't get quite so cold. If it's below 0, below 10 degrees, I'll wear these, and then I'll throw on a fleece mitten. I find mittens to be a little bit better too. If it gets real cold again, in my mitten, I will cut my hand, and it's warmer yet, because when your fingers are extended, the wind can grab them more. So if you kind of have your hand balled in your mitten, then it's not quite so cold either. So that is hands. And then again, the nice thing, if you've got something with pockets, if you know it gets too warm, I can pull off a layer, shove it in my pocket, and then not have to worry about it. So okay, then let's move up even more. So if it is, again, those 30 to 40s, it's not too cold. I love these. They're Pandana with a P brand, like gator sleeves. I don't know. There's so many things you can do with these. So it's just like a big stretchy tube thing. So if it's, you know, that warmer weather, but I just need something over my ears, I will fold one into a headband. So this is the same thing. It's just folded into a headband. And that's enough coverage for me when it's, again, like 30 to 40s. I just need a little something over my ears. I can use this. If it gets a little colder, like 20s to 30s, I've got a thicker fleece. It's a double layer fleece headband that I like. Colder than that, then I'll go to my stocking hat. And I don't have any fancy stocking hat. This is a free one I got in New York. If it gets real cold, you know, that below 0, I will double layer a bandana with a stocking hat, and then I'm double covered. Also, I can, you know, extend that so that it covers more of like my head and neck. This one is all unwrapped because this is what I've been using around my neck. So the nice thing about these is you can have them kind of down hanging around your neck, so it covers like this part where my zipper doesn't quite reach. But if it's real cold, I will just pull it up over my ears in the back and then pull my hat over it. And then I've got that double coverage at my neck, and that keeps it nice and warm there too. So that is my go-tos for my winter running. Again, you kind of have to guess and check and see what works for you. So those are my tips. Oh, another tip that I would say that I think I've mentioned before too is check the weather for sure before you go out, so that you kind of know what layers you need. and check for wind chill. And that maybe not a thing. Again, I didn't really realize it when I lived in Wisconsin, but as soon as I came up here, it's definitely a thing because the wind blows a lot here. And so I will try to plan my running route according to the wind pattern sometimes, so that I'm not running directly into it. I'm going crosswind instead when I can, or I'm limiting my time where I'm going right into it, because that just is tough. So check that before you go and adjust your plan accordingly. I kind of like winter running. It's a challenge in a different way. It's something that not everyone does. So if you're doing it, you know, you can kind of feel like it sets you apart a little bit from others because you're willing to try it and do it and overcome that adversity, and it can create, you know, improvements physically, but also strengthen you mentally too. If you can overcome that and get through it and come out the other side, then you're just a stronger person, a stronger runner. So give winter running a try if you haven't. It can be pretty fun, actually. If you have questions, comment below. But again, I would just find some pieces that work for you and are comfortable. Happy running, everyone.